Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans bringing you the news, discussion, and of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works and the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm WeiryWriter.
Also joining me, new to Shardcast, but ancient in the fandom, is Evgeni.
Hello, I'm Argent.
Tell us a little about you, for the listeners who might not know you, which would kind of be surprising, but
I mean, no, there may be. So I am obviously not a native speaker, so bear with me as I roll my R's.
No, accents are just inherently better than American boring accents, so it works great.
To be fair,
technically, American is an accent.
Well, that's
right?
true.
Okay, not linguistics. Okay, so stuff about me. I've been reading Brandon since say 2008 is when I've canonized this, because I don't remember exactly. I was very apprehensive because I was introduced to Brandon through the Wheel of Time.
Yes,
which was my favorite series at the time, and so this upstart kid in the fantasy block that I hadn't heard of before was I was not happy with him at the beginning, and then I read the books, and here I am, 10 years later, just obsessed.
I do have one more thing I want to say about Evgeni.
Oh yeah,
like, he is one of my favorite people because not only has he gotten a ton of awesome words, Brandon.
That's true.
But his voice is also super distinctive, and it's like very easy to transcribe and like attribute accurately in Arcanum.
That's true. That is true.
It's like listening. It's like, oh, that's Argent. That's Argent. That's Argent. That's so easy.
And also, you have done wonderful work on Arcanum, and this is a great point for us to plug Arcanum. wob.coppermine.net. We'll have a link below. And you guys can help transcribe too. Be really helpful. And also, Evgeni, you are in a construction zone where they are rebuilding Urithiru, I think. Pretty sure.
Indeed, I am recording this from the place closest to honor.
Which is in Chicago,
which is in Illinois, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's right next to Lake. It's not the pure lake, but it's Lake Michigan. So
it's not eastward.
To the west of me.
Yeah,
so.
Right. It's not east in Alethla, but
it
is
in the
not.
Center.
Yeah,
it is in the center-ish, center-ish. Yeah,
the Midwest,
lacking the mountains, but do what I can.
Yes. So if you hear power tools in the background, that's coming from him. And I'll do my best to edit it, but you might hear power tools, and it's just how it goes today.
Good.
And we're going to be talking about Urithiru today. But first, we have some news.
Yes. Part 1 of 6 of the Oathbringer graphic audio edition is being released on April 23rd.
We can't even get through the part 1 of Oathbringer in one graphic audio thing. We need
they're probably gonna make it into like that. That's probably gonna be up to the end of part 1.
Maybe part 1's really long.
Part 1 is really long.
It's the longest part of the book, I think.
Oh, yeah. Maybe,
yeah,
maybe half.
It's like 100,000 words long, I think.
Yeah. Well, so for reference, all the other graphic audio adaptations of the Stormlight books have been 5 parts.
Yeah.
And all the other 2, right?
Yeah. But most of the other Cosmere books are 3 parts.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Or 2 in some cases, actually.
Yeah. Well, that'll be good for that to come out.
6 is pretty nuts.
Yeah. I wonder what the release schedule on those is generally like. Like what will be the cadence to part 2? I don't know.
In the past, I feel like, I do have a forum thread where I do have the dates, or I did have the dates in the past. I feel like a month to 2 months per part is kind of what they do.
Oh, okay. That's totally reasonable. That's totally reasonable.
Yeah. That's actually quick now that I think about it.
That's quite quick, really.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the graphic audio has some of my favorite cover art.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
Alex
A
Allen
lot of it is really good.
Alex Allen is a fantastic artist.
I haven't listened to any
not
of those.
Earlier ones are but
not
the more
100%
recent
canonical. Not 100% canonical.
They have bigger budget, and the author is
It
more
is-
important, so it matters more.
They have a lot of
Practically.
budget. I mean, a graphic audio part of Stormlight is like $50 or something.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
These are expensive. But they're
Oh.
very
Yeah.
well done.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, that's awesome. I know they take a lot of effort, but that is steep.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know what the graphic audio edition is, it's a full cast reading of the books with sound effects and music and all.
Their tagline is a movie inside your mind, I believe.
they'll get the Keldon soundtrack. Hey guys, am I right? Maybe. Right?
Nah. I mean, they don't
have their own music.
It's kind of a low key background music. That's
That makes
just
sense.
so it's not silence, right? That's the
Right.
thing they do.
Cool.
But it's good. It's good.
Yeah. I've heard a clip from the Bands of Mourning one.
Yes, that's
of
the best
of the
clip.
hotel scene.
Yes.
Oh, is that
Oh,
what the- yeah.
That is
Yeah,
that was
scene-
amazing.
Yeah, that scene is hilarious when you read it, but when their version, it just kicks it up 12 notches.
Oh. That's
There
the best.
are some things in the graphic audio adaptations that I absolutely love. One of which is the voice they gave to the Stormfather, because it's a really, really deep, booming voice that I absolutely love. I mean, it was great. I was listening to Words of Radiance towards the end, and it was the scene way at the end with Dalinar and the Stormfather, and well, a little before that with Kaladin, where the Stormfather goes, "These words are accepted," and it was great.
Okay. That sounds pretty awesome.
That's appropriate, a face the size of the sky type of voice.
Yeah. You don't want It's easy to have bad Stormfather voices, as we've done
you
on
don't
this
want me
podcast.
voicing the Stormfather.
As we've
Not at
done
all.
on this podcast, reading as the Stormfather. But we're not voice actors, so there.
No.
So
Plus special effects.
let's get into it. We're gonna talk about the Sibling and Urithiru.
Yep.
And before definitely gonna be Oathbringer spoilers. What's new? Of course, you guys probably, if you're listening to a Stormlight podcast, you probably have read the book by now, but still gonna give that spoiler warning for a while still. Before Oathbringer came out, Brandon was just raffoing all questions on the third bondsmith spren. We knew there were 3 bondsmith, and everyone basically assumed the Night Watcher was the other one, and the Stormfather is obviously one, and so Brandon just raffoed everything about the third one. But
There was some contention there because there was a group that said all 3 bond the Stormfather, which I never really supported. But
There have been
it
theories.
was popular.
Yeah, I mean, before Oathbringer, yeah, sure, that's fine. But now it's pretty clear what's going on, and let's start talking about a very mysterious thing: the Sibling, which, as we'll see, is basically the third bondsmith spread.
Yeah, so we refer to it as the Sibling because that is what the ancient Radiants in the Urithiru gem archive refer to it as. And so from epigraphs 68 to 70 in Oathbringer, which is from your 1-1, the first through third Zircons, my research into the cognitive reflections of the Spren at the tower has been deeply illustrative. Some thought that the Sibling had withdrawn from men by intent, but I find counter to that theory. The wilting of plants and the general cooling of the air is disagreeable, yes, but some of the tower's functions remain in place. The increased pressure, for example, persists. Something is happening to the sibling. I agree this is true, but the division among the Knights Radiant is not to blame. Our perceived worthiness is a separate issue.
And remember, the Gem Archive is around the time of the False Desolation and immediately prior to the Recreants, so, you know.
Yeah, in preparation of abandoning Urithiru.
Yep.
Which, as we see, was failing, quite dramatically, at that point.
But apparently not related to the Knights Radiant and their worthiness, which is quite interesting.
And this does tie the sibling quite closely to Urithiru itself.
Yep, that's why we're doing them both in this podcast. Clearly has something to do with a big part to do with the functions of the tower itself, so it's habitable.
Yeah.
There's there is also a reference in another epigraph to the protection that the tower city offered the Radiants, and protection especially against the Unmade.
That's true.
And so if that was failing, we might also be looking at that's another reason the Radiants might be leaving the city, right? If the sibling is tied, if the sibling is essentially the spren of Urithiru, and he is either going away or he's falling asleep or something is happening, and all the functions of the tower city are beginning to fail, then the defense would also be failing, and so that's another incentive for it. No, not very much. Not with things that can reshape. Things can move it. That was a Reshfir pun. It was not very good.
No. I got the Reshfir pun. Yeah.
It was like 3 levels disconnected from.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that epigraph before, especially when we were analyzing things. About that. But yeah, that would be a reason why they would leave. But we got to talk about what is going on with the sibling and what it is. We don't really know. But we're gonna spitball it a little bit.
Actually, before we do that, another thing I wanna bring attention to. So later on, we're probably going to talk about the Horneater origin story because we do have notes on that. But I noticed an interesting correlation between this particular epigraph or group of epigraphs and that story, where whoever is writing or recording these things talks about the cooling of the air, and heat is one of the things that the Horneaters were given by one of the great Spren. The author of this gem talks about the tower's functions, which is not very exciting. Increased pressure, which is not directly tied to the great Spren that the Horneaters talk about, but that story refers to making the mountains habitable and retreating the peaks, so they have a place to live. And also, obviously, there's the thing with the plant life. Where the author of this archive entry talks about the plant life withering and wilting, which is the third thing that the Horneaters were granted by the Great Spren.
That is true.
So I don't know if we can take that anywhere, but it is a thing that is happening.
Let's read on for some more quotes.
So that's still Oathbringer epigraph 87. We are looking at drawer 29-29, which I believe to be row and column on the wall, by the way.
Yeah. Or the other way around, but yeah.
Sure, yeah, Cartesian coordinates, right.
Yeah.
It's a ruby, which is one of the things.
It's the Dustbringer gem.
Yeah, it's the Dustbringer, which is interesting because... And you guys have talked about this in the past, how the Dustbringers are. They sound so violent, but what we've seen in epigraphs pictures them as quite gentle. And so one of them says, "Good night, dear Urithiru. Good night, sweet sibling. Good night, Radiance."
That's lovely.
And
that's lovely.
It is lovely. It struck me as a beautiful and sad entry to just have, let alone record for millennia.
Yeah.
If not, I mean, not all eternity, but like a very long time.
I imagine those don't decay.
It's a very simple message, but like once you think about it, it's like there's just a weight of emotions there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been there they've been in that city for a long time, millennia.
Yeah. Possibly millennia, definitely centuries. It also reminds me of
Definitely
the
millennia.
Of the one
Surely.
where
surely before the last desolation and the
Sure,
recreants.
sure, yeah.
Right, so it has to be millennia.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I can buy that. But it reminds me of the one entry from the Windrunner, who talks about how this is going to be the last time he falls.
Jumps off yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to know that one was a sapphire to know that's a Windrunner.
Right.
on that
Right.
one.
I mean, could have been a Skybreaker, right? But
Well, that's true, but it's like
but it
I
was a
don't
Windrunner.
think Skybreakers are as prone to whimsy.
well, we don't know.
Eh,
Lots of different people can do lots of different things. So there's lots of variance within orcs.
True.
So, but it made sense for.
I mean,
it to be a
there's Kaladin, and then there's the Lopen.
Yes.
So
well,
Windrunners are
right.
a little different.
yes. And this quote from chapter 111 is really links it straight to the bondsmith. This is Dalinar talking with the Stormfather. Dalinar says, "The Night Watcher is like you. Are there others, though? Spren like you, or the Night Watcher? Spren that are shadows of gods? There is a third sibling. They are not with us. In hiding? No, slumbering. Tell me more. No, but no! Leave them alone. You hurt them enough." That's my Stormfather voice acting. 10 out of 10. But yeah, a third sibling of that class.
Right. So two things jump at me from this one. One, Dalinar talks about the shadows of gods, and the Stormfather doesn't directly contradict them, which, I mean, like, he wouldn't necessarily go, "Oh no, not all of us are shadows of gods." Like that would be a little weird of him to
Well,
say.
to be frank, the Stormfather doesn't know the correct terminology.
The Stormfather
Brandon has
also...
said that, which makes me incredibly angry.
Well, but
Wow.
he knows what Dalinar is getting at.
Yeah.
So the sibling may be something similar, in more similar to the Stormfather than the Night Watcher, because the Night Watcher is not quite the same.
Well, I mean, it's the Night Watcher is very much of cultivation and kind of like that, but the Night Watcher is just more what I imagine the Stormfather would have been before Honor died. Right? So, like, that's really the distinction, that the Stormfather is different now because Honor's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And the other big one is obviously the pronoun that the Stormfather uses to refer to the sibling.
They, yeah.
They, which could be, just Stormfather being vague and non-committing, or it could be that the sibling doesn't have
A gender.
or, male or female, like a specific traditional gender.
Sure. I like the line here that where the Stormfather says, "You hurt them enough," and so that's another they. I feel like if the Stormfather obviously knows what the sibling is, and right, like the Stormfather wouldn't intentionally be mysterious. So I guess some sort of non-gender.
And notice it's the sibling, not the brother, not the sister.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah. That is actually true. If the sibling has no gender, you wouldn't call them brother or sister, right? That would not be
and so immediately I'm reminded of the fact that the listener, the Parsh people, in a lot of cases don't have a gender.
Well, they have
male
neuters, female.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
But That is an interesting thing to think about, that we do have more than 2 genders on Roshar.
Yeah.
On safety
So
species.
they're not like gender neutral genders.
True.
Really.
Yes.
They're both like 2 are like masculine, 2 are feminine. It's just like 2 of them are neuter.
It would have been cool if one was just a total neuter one, or one of their forms. That would have been cool. But I like the line where you hurt them enough, which is almost contradicts the first epigraph we had, because the Stormfather seems to imply that the Radiants hurt the sibling, right? That's kind of the interpretation you could get there.
There's some wiggle room in the way that's phrased, because it's
totally
like you hurt them enough. Like, now that could be like the sibling was hurt in the past, or the sibling is currently being hurt.
I mean, I'm interpreting that to mean that the Radiants somehow damaged the sibling somehow, but
because if it was you have hurt them enough, it would be explicitly passed.
True.
But it's
true.
There's the way that's phrased, like it could go either way, in my opinion.
It could,
that,
but
like, that
totally
like
could.
Whatever like damage occurred to the sibling, like it might be continuing. It might be ongoing.
Okay, sure, yeah. It definitely started when the sibling started to recede, though. So
we also know that the Stormfather is hardly objective towards humankind.
Yeah.
Not at all.
He tends to assume the worst, and in many cases he is more right than he is wrong.
True.
But this could be just him incorrectly assuming. So if we go back to the first thing we read, if the sibling was just falling asleep for whatever reason that had nothing to do with the Radiants and their perceived worthiness, it may be that the Stormfather had incorrectly misinterpreted the situation.
Well, I will point out that it's like the division among the Knights Radiant is not to blame. They might have done something else.
Sure, that's also true.
Yeah. And another thing to remember is that the sibling would have started to recede before Honor died, pre-Recreance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Honor would have... the Stormfather would have just changed because of that. So the Stormfather is probably even more biased now about those past events, right?
Yeah.
Because Honor died and that changed him.
Yes.
Sure.
How much to that degree? We don't know. He does still remember stuff, clearly, and remembering stuff about the Heralds.
Yeah, like, and he does, like, specifically talk about the Heralds, that, like, now he understands, like, why they did what they did, whereas before, like, it was just horrible. Like, why would they do this?
Well, I think part of that is also his bond with Dalinar. And so he's understanding that, rather than just the Honor.
But, like, he was bonded to people, like, before. Like,
but again, before Honor died, right?
Yes.
So maybe that, it's...
Stormfather
it's hard to say.
Is a weird guy.
A little bit. I have my quick theory on the sibling is just that some people seem to think, Honor, Stormfather, cool. Cultivation, Night Watcher, cool. Oh, the sibling, Odium. I don't think that's the case.
No.
Yeah, so the big ones, right?
Right.
Let's get the big ones out of the way, right? The big ones are they are of Odium, or they are an explicit mix of Honor and Cultivation.
And I definitely think it's that one.
Yeah. Because like
it
I think...
seems more likely, right? I mean,
yeah. Odium's the enemy. Honor and Cultivation were working together against Odium. That's the whole thing.
There's some things there, right? There is, because a lot of Stormlight is, or at least a decent chunk of Stormlight is about the right side and the wrong side, and who is and switching sides, sometimes unexpectedly, and needing a novella to explain that. And so it could be, and I have seen this theory proposed, that the sibling was originally of Odium, and they either switched side or they were quote unquote corrupted by honor and cultivation in the Cosmere sense of the word, where corruption is mixing of investitures, right?
Yep.
And so now they're on our side and things like that. So I don't like or believe in any of that, but I think it's plausible enough to warrant a mention. Yeah.
That totally could be the case.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And as I've mentioned before on this podcast, like that's my theory for what's going to happen with Syanat. So it's like I don't see it being with, like the sibling, it having already happened with the sibling.
That there's some mirroring, and so that'll be like some foreshadowing for like what's happening with Syanat or something.
Well, no, like I'm saying, like I don't think Brandon would write it that way.
Oh,
that, like,
to have both.
He
of them?
would
Sure.
use like the same thing for both.
Sure.
Because that it would be because like Syanat is very much like there's no precedence for what she's doing, and like she's like worried about like the Radiants, like they're not ready for me yet. Whereas like if they already had like a converted being of odium, like
they would have tried it before long ago, right? With
well, they wouldn't necessarily know. Like this may be way ancient history.
Well, honor and cultivation could have tried to do that, right?
Sure. Doesn't mean the Radiants knew about it.
Well, sure, yeah, absolutely. How about we talk about Urithiru itself, the city itself, because the sibling is clearly very connected with that, and that's kind of why I think the sibling's just a mix of honor and cultivation in some like creation they made, because honor made the honor spren, right? They could just make a spren that's a combination of them. That's within their powers to do. As
it's like most of the spren we see are mixtures of honor and cultivation. Like,
and so maybe
well, Brennan has explicitly said that.
Has he?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That like all except for like Void spren, obviously. But,
Odium me.
And like so like there's honor spren, which are like mostly of honor, like and cultivation spren, which are mostly of cultivation. Like all the others, like they're
a mix.
I don't know if I've seen it said in quite as clear terms as these. Like I know I've seen Brandon talk about how
let's take a break and find a word of Brandon.
You doubt my spread knowledge.
This is half the reason he's on the podcast. For word of Brandon knowledge. If he says it's true, it's true. But I've definitely been on the podcast where I'm like, I don't remember it being phrased that way, and I just either cut it all out or put it in. So he also did write the Spren article, so I would trust that knowledge. But yeah, no.
I bring it up because it's something I have explicitly asked Brandon about.
Sure.
And his confirmation was not a confirmation. It was because that was exactly my question. It was, well, some Spren look very honorary, some Spren look very cultivation-y. Is it that Spren exist on a spectrum between the two? And he was like, oh, that's very astute observation. Good job.
It's literally the first thing that you get when you search Spren. So most of the Sapien Spren that form the Orders of Knights Radiance are related to a mixture of honor and cultivation. It's like literally the first result.
There's also like, are all Spren that can Nahil Bond called honor Spren or just Winter Honor Spren? But the Spren you are running into are all inaudible of either honor or cultivation or some mixture between them. You can usually tell the ones that are more honor and the ones that are more cultivation. That should be able to be inaudible. So
okay. Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense because with the recent clarification on investiture in the Cosmere being associated with Shard, that makes sense. Yeah.
Let's
that's a really old one.
Yeah.
Really old and foundational one.
Yeah. So the sibling could totally be just a special combination of honor and cultivation that they made for Urithiru or something.
And just a lot of it, like a big
a lot of it. They put a lot of investiture into that spren to have this fortress city to fight against Odium or something, right? That seems sensible. So let's talk about Urithiru.
So the Way of Kings, epigraph 35.
Ooh.
Though many wished Urithiru to be built in Alethela, it was obvious that it could not be. And so it was that we asked for it to be placed westward and the place nearest to honor. Perhaps the oldest surviving original source mentioning the city, recorded in the Vavabrar, line 1804, what I wouldn't give for a way to translate the Dawn Chant. Now, this is an excerpt from Yasna's notes. On
Well, Yasna, no, you can do
Good
that.
thing. Now we can do that. And they, I guess they did with the Isla Stele, right? So they did do that.
Yeah. They've been translating a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So interesting. Obviously, we know Urithiru is, in the center of Roshar, basically, in those mountains. Not in Alethla.
Yeah. Though, like, the place nearest to honor is
that is really weird.
That is really weird.
Because I remember when, like, Way of Kings, before Words of Radiance came out, it's on Honor's shard pool. Like, but now we know that, like, Honor's perpendicularity, like, isn't in one place. It moves.
And cultivation's not near her perpendicularity in the Horneater Peaks, right? So, like, those don't need to be connected. Also, we hear one of the fused mentioning Odium riding the Everstorm, basically, just like the enemy once did. So, like, Honor is presumably riding the storms all the time when he was alive, right? So, the place closest to Honor, he's riding those storms. What's the place closest to Honor? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like this might be like one of the highest points on Roshar.
Yeah, that's always
like
been
closest to honor. It's like the closest, highest up.
Oh, okay.
That's always been the only interpretation that makes sense to me. After we found out that it's probably not where the perpendicularity is.
Yeah. The Everstorm doesn't go as high as the top of the tower.
Neither do
I don't think high storm. Yeah, neither do high storms. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, but like
it's kind of interesting.
Honor being above, like in the basement of Urithiru, like he is depicted as a cloud bursting with light.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Up is associated with honor.
That's the most sensible interpretation, I'd say, rather than yes, this mountain range, very important. No, they're just tall.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're in the center, which I don't think hurt their case.
No, it was convenient as well. But I mean, you have Oathgates, so that's not
it doesn't
as
matter
necessarily
where it is.
as important, but
it's probably more of a symbolic thing, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It also gives you the opportunity to create that really snazzy map at the beginning of Oathbringer, where you see all the 10 Silver Kingdoms kind of arrayed around Urithiru.
Yeah.
Very distorted. Very distorted.
Yeah.
Very, but it's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Also interesting that it mentions Urithiru to be built, and also that we asked it to be placed westward, which is an interesting juxtaposition of those two words, which we argued about before we started recording.
Yes. So we don't know if like Urithiru was built by mortal hands or placed by direct Shardic interference.
Right.
Which, given some of the oddities, and honestly, the sheer size of the Tower City, it feels like there's got to be, if not direct Shardic interference, then at least like a Godspren. As everyone would call them.
So
like just Radiance, like soul casting stuff.
Yeah,
seems
it wouldn't be
seems hard.
Yeah. Like I think it is technically possible, but the magnitude is not feasible.
Could Elantris be built by Elantrians? Yes, but Shardic intervention helped. So I feel like it's one of those things.
And like Elantris is much simpler to build by human hands, because it's just about like city planning, right? You got to put this building here, you got to put this wall there, and it's a very precise city planning. But Elantris is still a somewhat normally sized city. Urithiru is
huge,
times bigger than anything we have.
Just building that scaffolding too hard.
It is nuts.
And it's like, and with Elantris, like you don't have to get too like nitty gritty on every single piece. Like there's like you need the shape to be right.
You need it to be right. There's all like this. Well, Well,
But, like,
we'll talk about the design.
But a lot of like
But yeah.
the little individual buildings, like it doesn't matter. But like Urithiru, like there are so many tiny details, like the vents through the walls, like the
Yeah.
veins of gemstone, like
To make
the
it all
strata.
work, I think direct Shardic intervention's pretty a safe bet.
You need a greatly expanded mind to be able to plan that.
I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
Yeah, like the Radiants at the peak of their power, I think could do it, but I don't think it was built at the peak of their power.
I don't know about that.
I mean, we haven't seen full Radiance, but even still, like,
I don't think it would be like as well done as Urithiru, but they could create something approximating that.
the order of those very ancient events is very interesting. Surge binding appearing versus, Nohadon,
that.
right? And like the radiance forming. Well, actually, we kind of get kind of a pretty solid timeline just thinking about Nohadon, right? Because there were surge binders when he was alive.
He did
if
have
that
surge
vision is to
binders.
be believed, but not radiance. But Urithiru still existed.
That's
At
true.
least around that time, or maybe the city was created when the radiance started. I don't know.
Well,
But-
it is within his lifetime, at least.
Within his lifetime, for sure, right?
Because he walked there.
Right.
Yeah.
So we actually, it's actually less mysterious than what I thought it was. Actually, like, oh, it's within this dude's life. So okay.
Shallan frowned at the tone of his voice, then followed his gaze to look at the thing Reshafir had been hiding. So this is towards the end of part 1 of Oathbringer, after they defeat Reshafir.
Yep.
The pillar in the exact center of the room. It was set with thousands upon thousands of cut gemstones, much larger than Shallan's fist. Together, they were a treasure worth more than most kingdoms.
Like I remember reading like that description,
Yeah.
being, like so excited for the next Highstorm because it's like, oh, it's gonna light up.
It's
like,
gonna light up.
no,
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 it doesn't.
no, the battery is not connected.
I feel like, yeah, the sibling needs to be there for it to be connected to have those functions, right?
Yes, yeah. Oh, like knowing that now, like I realize that, but at the time,
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, oh yeah, we got to infuse that. Clearly, that's top priority.
Chapter 44, dear listener, is where Shallan is in a meeting, and the meeting with all the scholars in Urithiru, and they're talking about Urithiru being a collection of fabrials, and then I believe Renarin is the one making the connection that it's not a bunch of fabrials, it is a fabrial, and what does it do?
yeah,
It does
it's
being
like-
a city.
it's not like that. He said softly, "They're not fabrials. They're a fabrial."
Yep.
And then further down in chapter 109, Dalinar talks about very much the same thing with Navani.
Yeah. How about I read this first paragraph in 109 because that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Dalinar ran his fingers along a line of red crystal embedded in the stone wall. The little vein started at the ceiling and wound all the way down the wall within the pattern of the light green and gray strata to the floor. It was smooth to the touch, distinct in texture from the rock around it. And so there's like these strata lines, and they mentioned that they're finding more of them. So it's like this all one connected giant fabrial.
Yeah, and like, Navani talks about a little about essential theology, not essential as in important, essential as in the essences.
The 10 essences.
Oh yeah, oh,
And-
right, yeah, right.
And so it's like that was like a thing for Argent and Scribes, like, and Navani's like, and Soulcasters. That is a garnet, which, as we know, is like for all water-based liquids.
That's right.
And
That's right.
and as about Dalinar, he's also about to find out because he married a nerd.
Yes, that's
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And,
So.
the records below, Navani said, speak of this tower like a living thing, with a heart of emerald and ruby, and now these veins of garnet.
That's so evocative and cool. Just
Yes.
to
It
point
is.
it out, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
And
Yeah,
so
and-
when
and Navani does point out that like they've had Renarin try to push Stormlight into the pillar, but it doesn't work.
Yep.
which is odd to me.
Yes.
It is
because there is the only reason the reason this is odd to me is because up until now there had been no reason to believe that a Surge Binder or a Radiant wouldn't be able to infuse a gemstone, because we have seen, especially with the Oath Gates, we've seen them do that a lot. It's you got a box, you put stuff in the box, right?
Yeah.
And then when Renarin fails, the only reason I can think of that he would fail is because those gemstones are already invested.
Maybe.
And that's interfering with him trying to push additional investiture in there.
Maybe it's like, so the Sibling has receded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not dead, slumbering, receded, right? And maybe some of the functions the Sibling had are still kind of there with like the increased pressure, right?
Sure.
Maybe that still like has a connection to the Sibling, and so you can't like put other investiture into it because it's like keyed. It's like a metal mine that has the identity that's connected with the Sibling, right? Or something.
Yeah, but gemstones don't have that concept.
No, I know. It is super weird.
And with
super weird.
With
I don't know.
regular Fabrials, you can you still have the sprint in there.
Yeah.
Right? It is captured.
Yeah.
You're still infusing those gems.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're totally right there. But
so that in particular might be just a question of scope and magnitude.
True.
Like the Sibling is so much more massive than, let's say, a Flame Spren being captured in a Fabrial.
Yeah.
That just a single Surge Binder can't do that.
It's almost like the Sibling wasn't captured in the Fabrial; it inhabited the Fabrial, almost.
Sure.
Yeah, like it's the entire thing, right? Or something. I don't know.
Weird.
So Navani's talk about a heart of emerald and ruby and veins of garnet made me think back to that pillar from earlier, and so I looked at it. It's not specifically mentioned to be made of emeralds and rubies that I can recall.
I totally conflated those two things in my mind. That the heart is that pillar.
And that's what I thought. That's what I had assumed. And then out from that pillar, you have this network of veins and arteries and capillaries and all that stuff that's made of garnets that carry the blood, that carry the power out of that central thing throughout the entire Tower City. Yeah. But that may not, she may be speaking more metaphorically than
probably. Yeah. I would probably say so.
But
I feel like the heart's that, right?
But here's a super weird thing, right? Emerald and ruby. We look at the Ars Arcanum.
Yeah.
Emerald. Well, I guess it's the essence of pulp, right? That's flesh.
Yeah. Well, pulp is plants.
Yeah, for food. Because you use emeralds for food. That's
why
they're valuable.
So there's the
pulp
essence
and spark.
There's the essence and there's the soul casting property, which are usually tied but not necessarily the same thing. And so she talks about the essential theology or theory. And so we're talking about pulp and spark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think pulp is fairly it's plants. Because it's wood pulp.
Okay, I mean
it's sinew that is flesh.
Sure. I'm gonna play my I'm a foreigner card. And give you this one.
Yeah. That's fine.
I can play this card as many times as I want.
I have some because that it's all tied into the double eye of the Almighty, which is the chart in the beginning of the Way of Kings, and it's the philosophical creation of plants and animals, and then the building blocks of the elements. They're classical elements, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I know that. But
the viewers.
Good job, viewers. What I don't understand is why like out of all the 10 essences, why are Pulp and Spark the heart of Urithiru?
I mean, Spark.
Like I would have expected. I mean, obviously not blood because the blood is the other one, the veins, right? But like maybe I don't know. We don't have a flesh essence.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking at Ruby, and on the chart, like the body focus is the soul, so that feels like the center of it, like in a metaphorical sense, would need that, right?
I'm skeptical of like the whole body focus thing, but like I do think like,
I know.
Yeah, like Spark is fire, like warmth. Like the tower was heated. Like,
So you're trying to drive this more towards kind of the the functions of the tower as a fabrial. Like some of the things it does is heat up the air, supply whatever to plant life so that it can actually grow, reduce the pressure or increase the pressure rather, and things like that. The thing with the soul, and the reason I didn't like the soul is because then the emerald is the hair.
Well, okay,
and
I mean,
the body focuses are just like
it is
I don't
super
think
weird.
There's anything actually there.
I do like the soul a lot. But Urithiru is not the hairy city.
Look, that grass on the top of the tower, man. It's the hair,
and it's where they grow the food. Into, like the two things that were failing was like the cooling of the air and the withering of the plants. Like Spark, Pulp.
Okay.
That's true. That is true. It is right there.
Okay, that's a good connection. If the sibling is related to this pillar, and if the pillar is, and like it's a three-way connection, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I imagine we'll get other functions that we don't even know about right now, right? Because imagine.
I mean,
it's just like those are like the two main ones. It's like we need this to be a self-supporting city,
right? We don't need the bathhouse or the bathrooms to work. Where that's like bath space rooms now.
Yeah.
Although the bathrooms also don't work, I suppose.
That is true. The bathrooms working would be helpful.
We do need to be able to breathe and eat. Like those are good things in life,
and not freeze to death. Not that it's that cold. Anyway.
Yeah, they're just soul casting the human waste right now, right? That's what they're doing.
Last we heard, they were just. It's not a pretty image.
That's not pretty, nor is it efficient in any way.
But they've been doing it forever, right?
Well,
in the work camps.
That's what.
But it just bothers me that you have these beautiful, like massive baths, like bathhouses, effectively, and it just go and poop there. And it's just a swimming pool of. Let's move on.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have that moment in this series where all the things light up, and it's gonna be a wonderful, magical moment where
Christmas
they don't
tree.
even. Yeah, basically, only more awesome.
I was so hoping it would be in this book.
I know. But I feel like there's a lot of foreshadowing in this book about later stuff. Like we had no idea what the sibling was before Oathbringer. We had no idea what the fused were. Like barely. Like there are the gods of the listeners. Okay, what were those? The specifics were crazy.
Oh
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, how would you guess that that's what it is? And so, there's so much. We got enough unmade stuff. We'll get some sibling stuff pretty soon. Maybe in the next book. But
I was pretty happy with all the unmade, like both info dumps. So much. Yeah, and like on screen. Hey, here's an unmade. You get an unmade. You get an unmade.
It's like, oh, we're doing that right now in this book. Okay.
Yeah. There's a part of me that wants Navani to bond the sibling because she's so into fabrials, and I feel like bonding this friend of the biggest fabrial ever
that
would make
would do happy. Wonders.
Okay, that would be pretty cool. I would not be opposed for that.
There are people already grumbling about the number of Kolins becoming Radiants.
And Brandon has commented on that. And
Yeah,
his
I mean,
explanation was entirely reasonable.
It is. But I mean, if you get 2 out of the 3 bondsmiths to be,
I know,
I mean,
but still.
that is true.
the effectively
so
the
perfect.
High King and High Queen of Roshar, or at least of Urithiru, which is kind of what they are right now.
Yes.
Pretty basically.
Uh,
Of the humans. Team Human.
hashtag Team Human.
Hashtag Team Human. Not the Colossus.
Although also that.
Maybe. Also that. They're not the king of the Colossus. Yeah. It's just weird to think about other people bonding these ancient, powerful Spren. What kind of crazy person would bond the Night Watcher? That is just bonkers to me.
Like,
How
people
does-
did it in the past.
I know they did. I know they did, but like, surely we're going to get to know a person who does that in the series.
Yeah.
And that's just so weird to think about, I think.
I think any sane person would just look at the Night Watcher and be like, nope, I'm walking out of here.
I'm out.
But
You-
that's the point. It's
You
like,
go on and slither along cultivation Spren lady with your creepy millions of hands and
coming
face
out of your
and-
face.
Oh,
I mean,
God, she's so disturbing.
I know. It's
And I've seen
Awesome.
there. Yes, she is. But there has been some fan art of
oh yeah.
the Night
Oh, yeah,
Watcher
nightmare
recently. It is
Yeah.
pure nightmare fuel. It's like we solved it. The Night Watcher is a Vodium.
I don't know. Just having any person bond these Spren is just crazy, but that's like the end of Words of Radiance. Oh, we're bonding the Stormfather right now. Okay, sure. We're just doing
With-
that.
With a double whammy. Double oath.
Yeah.
2 oaths.
Just to be safe.
Yep.
Because Dalinar doesn't do half measures.
Nope.
So, moving on from Urithiru to another ancient city on Roshar,
Indeed.
Kholinar.
Not necessarily a Dawncity TM.
Well, I think it's fairly clearly this is a Dawn city.
I'm pretty sure it's a Dawn
Yeah.
City.
So, in
Oh.
Interlude 12 of Words of Radiance, which is from the point of view of Lahan and Argent in Kholinar.
Mhm.
Oh, the city was beautiful, but it was the beauty of an artist who wasn't quite right in the head. The rock took the shape of rolling hills and steeply sloping valleys, and when the stone was cut into, it exposed thousands of brilliant strata of red, white, yellow, and orange. The most majestic formations were the wind blades, enormous curving spines of rock that cut through the city. Beautifully lined with the colorful strata on the sides, they curved, curled, rose, and fell, unexpectedly, like fish leaping from the ocean.
Yep. And those wind blades have existed for forever.
Yeah,
For
they
long-
are.
basically.
For
Yeah.
as long as Kholinar has existed, probably.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, because they form a windbreak. They're,
Yep.
Yep.
They're
That's why the
by-
city's there.
And so I do have to wonder whether they are actually older than the city.
Yeah.
I
Whether
believe they are.
the Dawn Singers found this natural or unnatural, who knows, formation that would shield a massive area from the high storms. And
Yeah.
they were like, hey, let's sing up a city, because that's what they do apparently. And they did.
Well, I don't know if they did that.
They sing up a city? What?
I mean, they're Dawn Singers, man, and Dawn Cities.
Well, yeah. They
And
they
there's-
didn't create
there's-
the city necessarily.
I don't think
but,
they
like,
literally
it's-
sing a city into existence.
No, I was like, wait, did I miss something? Okay.
Well,
but you're
but
right.
symbiotics.
Well, that's-
I think
well,
you have to be god tier level to do that.
I feel like the Dawn cities were again an honor cultivation creation
or
sort
an
of
odd
thing.
Adenalsium thing. I
Well, that's
just
true.
think
That's
these
true
might
as well.
predate the shards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not serious that they like
Oh, okay.
put acquired together and held a single node invested with power.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
no.
Right.
No.
Because
but-
mentioning the semantics thing, like the wind blades are part of like the semantic pattern of Kolinar.
Right.
Are they?
I think so,
Yes.
yeah.
Because that would break the symmetry.
I don't think so. They're
If
part
you
of the
are if you are doing semantics, like if you got the sand thing going on and you have a node that arranges the sand in a symmetric shape, you're not gonna have like fins on one side. You would need to
they're
have
like
it on
all through the city. They're not just on one side. Because like they also like form the walls of Kolinar. Like they're all around.
But I thought they were only on the
I
stormward
don't
side.
think so. I'm pretty sure they're like all through the city.
It does say that they're
In
curving
the
spines
city.
of rock that cut through the city.
Yeah.
They are through the city. Let me read this chapter 61 one from Oathbringer, where Kaladin's in there. He tried to ignore it by studying the wall as they stepped into its shadow. Those strata, he thought, remind me of the tunnels in Urithiru. Could there be some sort of connection? And then there's another one where mentioning the strata similar to Urithiru. So it seems like it's created of the same stuff in that sense.
Same stuff, or same way, or same entity. Definitely a similarity.
Or
Which-
like, yeah. Go on.
Here's the interesting thing about that. The strata, we were just talking about how, like, those are like the veins, right?
Well, not all of them.
Not
Not
all.
all.
Sure. Some
Sure.
are just like veins of mineral of like rubies just going
Sure.
through.
Yeah.
It's just interesting relating that to Urithiru, and my thought is, could these cities be powered in such a way like that? That's
I
really
don't
weird to think about.
Think so.
I don't
like,
think so either, but
Because there's like the strata that are like veins of garnet, and then there's like colorful patterns on the wall that
Sure.
like are literally all over Urithiru,
yeah.
which are just like, this is made of stone. Like there are strata.
It's it's like the coloration on, say, like a tiger, right?
Sure.
We need.
I'm not-
This is where we need David, the geology.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Our geologist, that's right.
When is Kaladin going to talk about software so I can feel relevant?
We need to get back to Cell. Like,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not Cell. Although that would also work. I'm waiting for Ms. Boren Era 3 Man,
Oh, that's true.
yeah.
because
Oh,
the
yeah.
main character is a developer.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So can't wait for that to be relevant, or for
Yeah.
me to be for I to be relevant.
You're relevant. Don't worry. So a few interesting things with Kolinar and Dawncities. It feels like the strata are clearly not natural. That's the thing. So Adenalcium or honor cultivation. I think that's pretty safe. The saying of Dawn Chant, Dawn Singer, Dawn City. So I guess these were cities the singers were in, right?
Yep. It's got to be.
Right, yeah. Interestingly, Kolinar is an Oathgate city, but that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. There doesn't need to be 10 Dawn cities, in particular.
No, because Sesamilex Dar
Yep.
is a Dawn city, but it's not
That's
an
exactly
Oathgate
what-
city.
That's exactly what I was thinking, which made me think of this, because it is not an Oathgate city, because Azimir is the Oathgate city there. So the Oathgates, I guess, would have been created a lot later, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if this was pre-First Desolation, Dawn City, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily need to be the case, but there were still storms, so you would still want wind blades. and
Yeah.
protection from that.
There have always been storms.
Yeah, I know, there's always been storms, right? So Adenalcium or Honor and Cultivation would, want to, if they wanted to foster civilization, would want there to be some cities, so you don't have to live in caves.
Yeah.
Right.
Caves are kind of a bummer.
Caves, kind of a bummer.
Which isn't Sesamalexdar one of those cities that's in like troves?
Yeah,
It's similar to yeah. Ironic.
It's like
Yada?
it's like Yada, only way bigger and not carved by shard blades.
Right.
Right. Yep.
So amazing to think about.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait till we go there, because that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
So many places I can't wait for us to go to, like all of Roshar.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I want to go to Ral Elarim. I want to go there real bad.
Oh, the City of Shadows.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just so cool. Because Ral Elarim, Oathgate City.
Yes.
Controlled by the enemy.
I have a feeling that's going to be a back 5 thing.
I agree.
Lift book.
Yeah, for sure. But I want to see it still, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I think we have technically seen it, because I think it's the one in the giant cave. I feel like that's been discussed, during Kaladin's storm vision.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is a tangent, and to bring it back to the Dawncities, it is worth mentioning that Dalinar doesn't see any of them in his visions. As per the Coppermind article.
I mean, I don't know how much I trust that.
So the fact, obviously the fact that he doesn't see them, if he doesn't see them, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't exist, right? Because he sees 5 locations.
Yeah, I don't think them not showing up in.
Actually,
I'm looking at whatever this is supposed to be referencing.
Oh, that's right. There are references on this thing.
There are references.
There is. So when he's at Feverstone Keep, there is a.
Oh,
but then Ral Elarim is not.
This is actually the wrong citation. Just so you know, it's supposed to be Stormlight 1, not Words of Radiance. Just So I've just edited that real quick to be the correct reference. But no, there is a line where Dalinar just says, I've seen neither, when Navani asks if he's seen the Dawn City.
Yeah,
which he has no idea what a Dawn City is. He lives in one, he doesn't know that it's a Dawn City.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, he doesn't fully realize that Kholinar is a Dawn City.
Really? Because High Prince Haddam, or his wife rather, studies those. So they must be, they're not some super obscure scholarly things.
They don't really know what a Dawn City is. They know these ancient cities. And it's there are theories that Kholinar is one, but they don't really they don't understand as much as we do.
Well, so I don't think they grasp the implication of a city being a Dawn City, but I feel like they would just know, they would have memorized that Kholinar is one of the Dawn Cities. I mean, Yasna says as much during the capsule demonstration with the Sematics.
Yeah,
and Shallan also knows that.
Kholinar is on the list of suspected Dawn Cities, but it's they have no way of verifying that list, so it's there's no confirmed Dawn City.
Right, but he would Dalinar would still recognize Kholinar if he had seen it in his visions. Yeah. Because he does see it in the future and recognizes it.
Yeah. Dalinar is Dalinar and is not a nerd. He is kind of...
The general shape of Kholinar doesn't change over time.
True, but
he would recognize
him not
that.
Seeing Kholinar doesn't really mean anything.
No, it doesn't mean much. But it is a line that is included in the book.
Yeah. I think that is Dalinar doesn't know what a Dawn City really is, so it's like, oh, like I haven't really seen anything like that, so no.
Well, he could be more thinking like, oh, these mythological, legendary, amazing cities, and
Exactly.
like our cities suck, right? I was expecting Atlantis to be awesome. I don't see anything that's as awesome as a giant city of gold or something. You know, like
shining with the Almighty's light or something,
or whatever. Interesting that in the somatic representation that Kabzal mentioned, it's Kholinar, Vedinar, Akana, and Thalen City, all Oathgate cities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it mentions. Does it mention Smolik Star too?
No, it doesn't.
Somebody.
It does not.
And this is coming back from the Coppermind article. The Natan scholar, ardent person, Alnak. He says he believes that System Like Star is.
Yeah.
Okay, that might be what I'm thinking.
Yeah, they're two different things.
So it could be that he's just wrong.
Well, no. It could just mean that there are more than 10 Dawn cities.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They just made 10 Oathgates.
Or like,
right? Like,
there's no guarantee that it just because it's Oathgate City, it's a Dawn City.
Sure, or vice versa.
True.
Because I think we should like specify like Dawn cities are these like cities with like the symmetry, like these were like created through Shardic intervention or something.
Sure. The way I'm thinking about it is if you have these important cities and your honor and you're fighting Voidbringers, let's just ignore that first Desolation part, okay? Let's ignore that part. But you would want their points of strategic interest, so you would put Oathgates in all those cities. So like those would be the candidates for your Oathgates, right? So you're right. They do not need to be the same. You could put an Oathgate somewhere else.
Yeah.
That was not a Dawn City.
Because it's like they were put in the capitals of the Silver Kingdoms, which is Azamir, not Cecil Melek Star.
Right. But, there could be 20 Dawn cities, right? We don't really know in particular.
Yeah,
there's clearly some debate about that.
We do get too focused on the number 10 a lot. For good reasons, by the way. Because everything comes in tens in these books.
If Sesemelek Star was a Dawn City, which is not like a confirmed thing, that's just what Aunak thinks and what other people think, that's why they're fighting over it. And
I thought like it was part of Kabzal's demonstration.
No, it wasn't. Nope.
Oh, it's just those four. Yeah.
But interesting to think about that they have strata. Also, we have some mentions of Carbranth that in the Conclave, there's interesting strata as well.
And it said that like the Palladium, like the main shaft was created by the Dawn Singers.
That's right. That is right. That's one of those things after Oathbringer that you think about a little differently now, don't you?
Then they also think that the Dawn Singers were benevolent Spren.
Yeah. Right. But like they know like it was like this is like really ancient. Like it was discovered by humans. Like it pre-existed them. And it's like an inverse pyramid. Like that's a very unnatural shape.
Let's wrap up Dawn Cities. Any last thoughts on Dawn Cities, I guess?
Yes. I do not think Urithiru is a Dawn City. I think it was constructed under similar principles, sort of. But I think the Dawn Cities were created by Adonalsium and when he created the continent, like ages and ages and ages ago. And then Urithiru was created long after the Dawn Cities as a home for the Radiants by honor and or cultivation.
I agree with most of what you just said. I don't know if I'm ready to say, Adonalsium built the Dawn Cities, but honor and cultivation could have long ago. And I agree. The Urithiru is not a Dawn City in that set. It was built later and was more special.
My thought is like if these were built as like shelters for the from the storms for like the singers.
Well, that's true.
It makes sense for that to be like when the singers were created.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's just in those prehistory times, maybe lots of people did live in caves. I couldn't. I'm not ready to make a statement. It could totally be that way.
Yeah.
But there was still time before the first desolation happened, and honor and cultivation were there. So, like, it's so hard to say anything concrete back then. But no, I'm with you. I don't think Urithiru is a Dawn City at all. Like, the timeline just doesn't make sense for that. Cool.
Sure.
So we mentioned the legend of the Horneaters and their creation.
So do you want me to
the Horneater Peaks.
Summarize this?
Yeah. Why don't you do that?
So in Words of Radiance, Bridgefor goes to a bar, and Rock tells the story of the Horneater Peaks and how they were created. And basically, everybody hated the Horneaters, probably because they had Parshendi blood or Singer blood.
Thank you. But no, you're right. That's completely 100% accurate.
And so, like, they went around, like, trying to find a home. They talked to the spren of the ocean, like, the spren of the forest, and then the spren of the mountains. And each, like, turned them away because, like we can't help you. The other humans, like, they victimize us. Like the spren of the ocean is like they like have hooks in our heart and like because like they fish and rip out fish, obviously. Or like the spren of the forest is like, oh no, like people will chop you and use you for wood. And ultimately they go to the god of the mountains and say like, hey, like if the god of the ocean gives us like the water, and the god of the woods gives us plants, like can you give us heat and a place to live? And so it's like all of those things come together, and like the god of the mountains like retreated the peaks into themselves. Like the god of the waters filled them with water, and then plant life was there because of the god of the forest. And so it's like, what? And like these gods are spren because the Horneaters worship spren. So it's like, how do these relate to the three big spren that we know of? Because
at least three big spren that like. I still think Yusikesh is weird.
That's gonna be relevant for something sometime, but
also
Bondsmith's friend, like
very very connected to water.
Yes,
that's true.
And I do think there's like some poetic history making that is, this is a myth. This is not a
absolutely
historical record. So like,
right.
I think the fact that there are three gods, major gods spren. Oh, I hate that term. I'm going to say that again. 3 major spren that are worshipped as gods. And they, in the story, they've been assigned to the waters, the forest, and the mountains. I don't know if that was actually true when this whole thing was happening.
Right.
But I do think the sibling is tied into all of this, making the peaks habitable. Because like they're warmer than the surrounding. Like at the peaks it's warm, then you descend and it gets cold, and then you descend to the bottom and it's warm again.
Which could be explained in a number of natural ways. Like we could be looking at and I know there's no like tectonic activity on Roshar, but we could be looking at volcanoes in some way, like craters. We could be looking at hot springs, which is I think one of the things Sigzil.
Yeah, Sigzil
mentioned.
like the Horneater's peaks are just hot springs, like, but They are
Gosh.
also the location of cultivation's perpendicularity.
Which kind of a big deal, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that for the sibling to be related, that entirely depends on what the length of Horneater history is, right?
Yes.
Because if the sibling receded and went to the Horneater Peaks somehow, then we kind of have a limited time frame for that to occur.
So what I've never actually like thought about this at any length of time, but I feel like it makes the most sense for this story or like the progenitor of the story, the inspiration for the story, to have happened pretty much after the first desolation or maybe the second desolation. Because if the Horneaters were being hated and hunted for their Parsh blood,
That's a theory. We don't know.
yeah.
Case,
But
right?
I dig it. I dig it a lot. If that is the case, and it's also like 100% the human thing to do, right? Then I can't imagine the human nations just keeping them around as these guys are just there chilling. Blood of our enemies.
See, like
For a
I
long
don't
time.
think it's that old.
I don't think it's that old either. It could just simply be that interbreeding happened before, and whenever the Horneaters went there, humans are just being jerks to people who don't look like them. Like
It takes
all of that. I mean, it could be like a deep-seated cultural memory, but it doesn't have to be so explicit about that, right?
It takes a little bit of time
right.
to develop a race. Like they are physically distinctive from
They are, yes.
from humans and Parsh.
Yeah. But
although
like,
I guess not that physically distinctive from humans, right?
no, they're pretty human-ish. Like they have an extra set of molars.
Yeah.
I think is like the most dramatic. It's
And they're
unlike
big.
the Herdazians, which like I would say the Herdazians are more dramatically different than
just the
standard
nails.
human. But still, like stone fingernails, like that's weird.
It's weird. It's really hard to say with all of this ancient Rosharan history when things occurred.
Yeah.
But
it's so hard.
I will say that if my theory is correct, and like the peaks were inhabited following the abandoning of Urithiru because the sibling left, like that's still 2,000 years ago. That's plenty of time for like a myth to get distorted.
True.
And it's also I mean, I don't know how much time you would need for these two species, to interbreed, right? To have this group of Horneaters and, also the Herdazians, right? In the
And
similar way.
you still need to get the Valen people to be a thing.
Yeah. So it could, you could maybe have that happen between the last desolation and the false desolation when they're abandoning Urithiru, and that would work. I wouldn't say I'm sold on any of that necessarily. I'm just saying if your theory is accurate, and I feel like the time frame would be maybe accurate enough after the fused leave, right? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's super hard to say.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that there's 3 of them, and does make things habitable. The wood.
Yeah, the sibling seems to have to be the spren of making things habitable.
Yeah.
The spren of making things habitable.
And
There you go.
The
tying
habitat
into,
spren.
like the spread of the mountain being the sibling. It's like there's the Shin have the big thing about stone,
Right.
and it's like Urithiru and a stone's unhallowed.
And they do worship the great spren of the mountains.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. In Words of Radiance, chapter 88, Seth whispers, like, my gods are the spirits of the stones, the sun and the stars, not men. Nale, nonsense. Your people revere the spren of stone, but you do not worship them. And then in Oathbringer, chapter 106, Seth is like, it's in the local language. I don't know the script. Aboshi. The divine honor was his best guess of how to address one of the heralds, though among his people it had been reserved for the great spren of the mountains.
lot of mountain stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean,
And-
also the mountains in Shinovar is pretty specific,
Mhm.
so that doesn't necessarily need to connect.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the misted mountains are pretty specific.
Yes. But like it's an interesting like callback.
Absolutely, I agree.
And all of that ties in with what is my best theory for the sibling, and
Yes.
and that is the same way the Stormfather is the Spren of the Storms, and the Night Watcher is not really like Spren of life, plant life, but kind
It's
of.
hard to sum up her as simply as Friend of the Storms.
Yeah.
And I watch it, it's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the problem that the like a lot of the stuff we've been attributing to the Night Watcher might be more appropriately attributed to cultivation, because they're just
Yeah.
hanging out in their summer retreat forever, and who
Since the Recreants,
it's sure, yeah,
we don't know when, but
humans
Maybe.
humans are jerks. They don't want to deal with them unless
Sure.
they show up, at which point they do, which okay. But yeah, so a lot of plant life in there. And then so the same way I feel like the other kind of big planet wide thing that is in Roshar is stone. Like
Yes.
the earth, not the earth, not
That's
the soil,
true.
but the continent itself.
yeah.
And so that ties with the mountains, that ties with heat and warmth.
Yeah.
Because the fire and like the core of the planet and things like that, although
Yeah.
might not work like that. Definitely
'cause
ties
it's
with
so tough.
stone, definitely ties with Urithiru.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my running pet theory, that the sibling is the Spren of maybe not the Roshar, but the Spren of kind of like all stone.
So it's the Spren of Stone.
Yeah, because stone's got to be massive in the cognitive perception in Roshar.
You are thinking about stone a lot. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Kind of a big deal for you.
Yeah. If anything, the Night Watcher is the weirdest of the three. If your theory is correct, right? Like storms, that's important. Stone, that's there a lot, right?
Eating, not so much.
Well, I mean, yeah. That's a good theory. Do we have any last thoughts, Urithiru, the sibling?
Sweet dreams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I want like Urithiru to turn on. That's just my
Yeah, no,
purest wish.
100%. We are going to
Oh,
see
yeah.
that on the screen. It's going to be awesome. That is an important moment that clearly he's setting up, right?
Oh yeah.
100%.
Oh, I just realized. So in my head, I have this very Christmas theme, Urithiru lighting up, right? But I just
sure.
realized that it's actually a lot more similar to Elantris turning on.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
pretty-
yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean, obviously,
really
obviously
is.
conceptually, right? But also like visually, I have
Yeah.
this mental image of just light flooding
Mhm.
the city. And for some reason, I imagine it from one side, even though really it should be from everywhere at all times.
Probably
but
like
whatever.
radiating out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, but and it just cleans all the muck, and the entire city begins to shine.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. No, but it is quite like Elantris in that sense. Yeah.
I wonder if we can take that, if we can extend that similarity to. So Elantris turns on because it's a massive conduit for power, among other things.
Yep.
From in that case, the cognitive realm to the physical.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And so what's going on there when Rayoden fixes the city is that the power is now able to flood back into, because Elantris is in some way like a massive fabrial. It is very similar to Urithiru,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And so the power floods back into the city through kind of the shape that the city takes, because it's a massive aeon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that would be like, I feel like the Rosharan equivalent of this would be having a fabrial and infusing the gemstone or gemstones of that fabrial. And so I feel like the core of all of this, I mean, obviously I have no idea where the sibling would kick in. They would probably need to return in some physical sense of the word. But it would probably need to start with that pillar in the middle.
Absolutely. 100%.
Like that's you power that up, and then the power is gonna go through those veins of ruby.
Yep.
And do all the other things.
Because like we know that gemstones don't shine because of the stormlight inside them. Like like yes, like stormlight gives off light, but they're acting as a tunnel to they're like a light bulb screwed into the spiritual realm at that point. It's just like light is coming from the spiritual realm in a sense. And so like what if like the reason like we can't infuse the pillar is because like it needs a direct connection to the spiritual realm to be powered, like through the sibling.
Yeah, it's
just because it's like it's so much power that like relying on the high storms like is unfeasible.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't really know. It's hard to say, but I totally agree. Once you light up that pillar, everything turns on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if necessarily, like with the Elantris analogy, like the Aeon's broken, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Urithiru is broken, right?
Correct. Its power source just isn't plugged in.
Yeah, in some sense. And so somehow that's with the sibling, and I'm really excited to see more about that.
Yeah, so the return of the sibling is probably going to be much akin to fixing Elantris.
Yeah,
I think so. Like,
but it's less
so
about
important.
Fixing. It's more about making it whole.
Yeah, how do we?
Yeah, that's a good
wake
comparison.
the sibling back up. And the Stormfather really doesn't want that to happen. So the story could go in any number of directions, but we will see Urithiru turn on.
I think we may
maybe later we'll see it destroyed, but we will see that city turned on 100%.
Yeah, we may need to go to Shinovar for this. I feel like that's it may be that the sibling is there.
Yeah.
Like we know that Shinovar is pretty habitable, which is most likely because honor and cultivation were
that way.
Well, but okay,
they made it Earth-like. So
yeah,
like...
yeah. Although it is weird to think about this first migration of the Ashenites. Like they show up on Roshar in what is going to be Shinovar in the future.
Yep.
At that time, Shinovar is rock, right?
Sure.
And so at that time, honor and cultivation are not their gods.
Mm-hmm.
Odium still is. And so did they... Okay. I can see the problems with that statement, right? Odium might not necessarily be their god. He came with them. The important thing is honor and cultivation were not. And so did someone or something shape Shinovar or what is going to be Shinovar into something similar to what they were familiar with? Or did they live in rocks and caves for a long time?
I think like honor and cultivation, like when they showed up, this was like, because at that point, I don't think Odium was their enemy necessarily.
They haven't like directly conflicted.
Yeah. It's like,
right?
And they're both like decent people, I think. And there was like, yes, we will provide shelter for like, we'll give you like, take that valley, like we'll make it suitable for your habitation and just like be happy with that. Like,
man, what happened with your planet sucked. We don't want to kill you all, so we'll help you.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't do that, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
But
because like they themselves are human, so it's like it makes sense. Like they would have like were human.
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
They aren't singers, like is what was my point. So it's like they might have like a fondness for like they're like what we used to be. So it's like a very natural like. Well, we don't want them to die.
To be clear, we don't know for a fact that they were human. Both of them do appear human. For all we know, they could be dragons.
I have other theories.
Whom we know are confirmed shapeshifters.
Yeah.
So
It's true. Ian wants every shard to be a dragon.
Oh, I think honor and cultivation are human.
I think they are too. But some shards are dragons.
yeah, I mean,
And
just to be
yeah.
Bobbidin and Edgley, obviously.
I think it's going to be really crazy when we actually go to Shinovar. Because there's so much Shinovar that Brandon is just holding back from us.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
So I was saying why I feel like we need to go there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there is a direct citation for this, but I feel like the stone shamanat, the stone shamans or shaman are communicating with the great spread of the mountains.
That seems reasonable.
Which could place the sibling there.
I don't know if they're actually communicating with the sibling or the great spread of the mountain, rather. Because like a Boshi, like yes, they have an honorific for it.
Yeah,
but, like,
they
that
do
could
have
just be like in like their scripture, like that's how they refer to it.
Sure,
That's true. I would say not that they're necessarily communicating with them now, but they probably have at some point. I think that would be pretty safe.
I think that's
they don't
reasonable,
need to have now, but they could. I think that's an interesting idea. They're spread. You could talk to them. That's not like an impossible thing to do.
Yeah.
So it could really go either way.
Yeah.
But
I feel like if the sibling is anywhere, it would be in Shinovar.
See, I almost don't think the sibling is anywhere on Roshar, and the sibling simply receded more into Shadesmar, and
Also,
like is not in the physical at all. So I personally don't think.
But
the
like
sibling
they still have to be in a place. Like the cognitive realm is tied to place.
yeah,
So-
but
Well, yeah, but
Or do you mean
you're
it's
not
like
just gonna walk
it's
up
still
and
in like
find them.
Urithiru?
it could be largely
okay.
irrelevant where that physical place is, because there are entire
Right.
Spren cities in Shadesmar that, and the fact that there is a Spren city there doesn't mean anything on the physical side, right?
Yeah, but like I think that's what it means for the sibling to recede. Like, yo, I don't want to talk with any of you anymore for reasons. Like, we have no idea what those reasons could be, right?
I can buy that.
So
I think that's just as viable.
So, you know what time it is, guys?
It is 5:18 right now.
It's time.
6:18 actually.
It's 4:18 for me. Now you know our time zones, guys.
How does time work?
It's Ben doesn't know. It's time for Who's That Cosmere Character. All right. So you've heard this game before, right? Argent?
I have. For a long time,
Excellent.
I didn't know what the WTCC acronym meant. That
Oh, right. Yeah.
that was being thrown around in various chats. But,
Right.
but like World Trade, no.
World Trade Center.
Comic Convention.
Nailed it. World Trade Comic Convention. Nailed it. No. Who's That Cosmere Character? So there's 5 clues per character, and you guys get a guess after each character. Or after each clue, not each character. What am I talking about? So let's just get into it. This one is from Riley Willoughby. And the first clue is this person is described as very old.
I have a character in mind. I'm trying to remember their name.
Yeah, I have
yeah,
I have one in mind too.
Oh.
I don't remember her name.
Well, here, let's go with the Slow Swift.
No.
Or Snow.
Tara-
The
it's-
token
yeah.
guy.
That's
Yeah.
Swift. I'm
Yeah,
going to guess Taravangian.
No. Clue number 2. This person You might get this right after this. Resides in the cognitive realm.
Resides?
Yep.
Is it Rhino?
No.
I mean, I keep wanting to say Frost, but we don't know where he resides.
Is that your guess?
No, it's not my guess.
Okay.
I'm just saying I'm tempted to use that as my guess.
Okay.
Resides in the cognitive realm. Yeah, I don't know. I'll go with Frost.
No.
Okay.
This person lives in a fortress.
Oh, is it Illinois?
Yes, it is. The
One of
next
the
clue
Irie.
was
One of the old
yeah. The next clue is this person is an
Illinois.
Elantrian. This person is a leader of the Irie. Whatever. Stupid Aeons. All right.
So easy.
Yes, they
No.
are.
I will not say Elantris as Elantris. I will never do it.
Elantris
I will
is an
never
exception.
say-
That's an exception.
I will never say Serene as anything other than Serene, and I'm not going to use
Serenity. It's just like
It's weird. I'm not okay with that. That's
Like
dumb.
if you had just go.
I like how we're having a pronunciation thing about Aeonic and not Urithiru, which is insane to me considering what we just did. All right, let's go to the next one. This one is from Ash. Cool.
the Herald of Beauty.
That's right. This character is believed to be a world hopper. Believed to be.
I mean, if someone is a confirmed world hopper, you're still believing that. Like,
Well,
could be a trick.
Yes, I'm gonna say a Sliden or a
No.
Sylvan, or I don't know.
Aisleden would be. I looked it up.
The Moe's girlfriend.
no.
Believed to be a world hopper. They do so in this game. They do have to be named characters, right?
They are named
Okay.
characters. That's right. They have names. Real people.
Well,
Not XTs. Screw that one from last time. That one was not fair.
I don't know. I pass.
All right. This character works with food.
Oh, that one. No, I'm not gonna look it up.
I mean, it's not like I'm giving points out. You guys can spitball off of each other if you know.
Well, I mean, it's. I don't know their name is the problem.
Well, describe them.
The in Warbreaker very early on.
Oh, Mab
the
the
cook
cook.
lady.
Yeah, that's
It is
who I
Mab
was
the cook.
thinking. I was
Yes.
thinking Mab.
Yep, it is Mab. The clue 2, nice. The next clues are this character lost access to the local form of investiture at one point, but now can use it again.
That was 100% going to be useless for me.
And this character is very maternal to a POV character. This character had a larger part in a deleted scene.
Like, she's believed to be a world hopper? I did not know that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't make this one. I guess some people theorize that Mab was a world hopper. I think I remember that.
she is.
So
She is a little weird as a like. She comes off as a little weird on page.
Yeah.
I think that has been a theory, but
I think there's like more mundane reasons for that. It's like, why does she know so much about like Hallandren? It's because she lived there. Like, like
No, anyone weird is a world hopper.
yeah.
I should create some of these sometime. I have some good ones. But
Yeah.
Thank you, Riley and Ash, for these wonderful Who's That Cosmic characters. And that's gonna be it for us. So come on over to 17shard.com, come to our Discord, say hi, chat with us whenever on the forums or Discord, and follow us on Facebook at 17shard, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, like, subscribe, all the BS. That's what we usually do. And we will see you all next time.
Bye.
Good night, Radiance.
Caw.